Mr. Speaker, to the Minister of Finance, what reports has he received showing progress in turning around the New Zealand economy?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, a number of reports. It's important to remember that in 2008 the government inherited an economy that was already in recession from early 2008 before the rest of the world, and then a further deepening of that recession because of the global financial crisis. In the 3 years to 2008, per capita incomes in New Zealand dropped by 0.5% per year. By comparison, other economies similar to ours, such as Australia and the US, saw per capita incomes rise. We have a very substantial turnaround job to do to lift incomes in New Zealand and to rebalance this economy towards exporting and earning rather than spending, consumption and excessive government spending.
Todd McClay.
Supplementary to the Minister, how has the economy performed over the past year and how is this reflected in per capita incomes?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, we would not expect a rapid turnaround after so much damage was done in the previous decade of economic management. The statistics New Zealand show that the economy, that annual GDP growth has now reached 1.9%. Per capita GDP increased 0.6% in the latest March quarter compared with a year earlier. That's a 0.6% increase compared to the 0.5% decrease that we saw for 3 years in a row from 2005 to 2008. It's also worth pointing out that average wages in New Zealand were distorted through the latter period of the Labor government by very substantial increases in public sector wages. Those kinds of big annual increases are clearly unsustainable. We'll now have to lift incomes with real increases in wealth through our export sector, not through pumping up government spending.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, to the Minister, which of his reports suggest that supports the Prime Minister's expectation that New Zealand would grow aggressively out of the recession, or does he now think that that prediction was wrong, given that New Zealanders' incomes are falling further behind Australia's?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's a rather different situation in the two countries because of the mismanagement of the previous government. New Zealand had a recession and Australia didn't, and we are now trying to repair the significant damage done by a recession and a fall in per capita incomes engineered by the previous Labor government, and as the Prime Minister said, I suspect that will take some time.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, does he agree with Business Week that the likely increase in the official cash rate tomorrow in part results from his policies to raise GST that will flow through to price and wage expectations?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, no, I don't, because the Governor of the Reserve Bank's been quite explicit that the Reserve Bank has the power to look through one-off pressures on inflation like the increase in GST. And of course New Zealanders will be better off because the reduction in their income tax rates from the 1st of October is significantly larger than the increase in GST.
Todd McClay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. How will the government's tax package on 1 October further improve the take-home income of New Zealanders?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, the tax package will leave someone on the average wage about $15 a week better off after taking account of the increase in GST, and an average family will be about $25 a week better off after taking account of GST. Under the changes on the 1st of October, 73% of all New Zealand earners will face a top statutory tax rate of 17.5%. That is, everyone who earns up to $48,000 will have a statutory tax rate of 17.5%. We believe this is vital to the incentives for New Zealanders to get ahead because, after all, many New Zealanders are aspirational and would like to raise their incomes. They have a government that recognises that.
The Honourable David. Todd McClay.
Thank you. What impact will the tax package have on New Zealand's competitiveness with Australia?
Well, Mr. Speaker, there are any number of ways of measuring competitiveness with Australia. Before this tax package, on a straight dollar-for-dollar basis, all Australians earning up to $228,000 a year were paying less tax than New Zealanders on comparable incomes. From the 1st of October, that figure reduces to around about $55,000. In other words, all New Zealanders earning more than $55,000 a year will be paying less tax than Australians on the same income. Our company tax rate will also be more competitive because at 28% rate, which takes effect from the 2011-12 year, it will be 2 cents lower than Australia's for 2 years, and then a cent lower permanently, depending on the Australian government maintaining the position it's currently taken on company tax.
Question of point of order, Dr. Russel Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I seek leave to table 2 documents regarding the links between Bill English's office and the Cunliffe Farms. The first, an email from the Overseas Investment Office dated 5th of February.
Point of order. Well, a point of order is actually being heard. I invite the member just to wait a moment. I'll hear what Dr. Russel Norman's seeking leave to, and then I will hear the Honourable Bill English.
It's regarding the previous question. I should have tabled at the end of the previous question, but it was an oversight on my behalf. It's an email from the Overseas Investment Office dated February 5 this year to Bill English's office identifying who the lawyers are for natural dairy.
Does the member wish to seek a point of order before I seek leave for that document to be tabled?
My point of order, Mr. Speaker, is the member can seek leave to table documents. He can't seek leave to make false statements like that.
I guess I made the rod for my own back there. The member shouldn't be saying that under point of order, but I understand the point he's making, and I just ask the member in describing the next document he seeks leave, be careful how he describes it. But leave is sought to table that particular email. Is there any objection? There is no objection. Dr. Russel Norman, point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I seek leave to table a further email about a communication between Mr. English's office and the lawyers for natural dairy, or rather from the lawyers to natural dairy to Mr. English's office, dated February 5, about their intention to purchase the Cunliffe Farms.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is objection. Question number 4, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker.